An Embarrassment of Dooplers is actually pretty damn good. I never thought I will actually like Star Trek Lower Decks, but here I am. Hello friends, I know it's been a while, but I'm back with another video about the next episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, an episode called An Embarrassment of Dooplers. What can I say about this episode without retelling all of the jokes? Well, first of all, it's exactly what it is supposed to be. It's pretty damn funny. Finally. If you have been watching these videos regularly, you know that saying that I wasn't a fan of this show would be an understatement. I absolutely hated the first episode, and especially the character of Mariner. For some reason, the creators thought it would be a good idea to make the lead character a bully, and a kind of a psychopath who fantasized about murdering her mother, but that's exactly what we got. Not sure what happened behind the scenes, but for some reason the writing for season 2 got drastically better. They have even attempted, and quite successfully I might add, to fix Mariner. She's not as insufferable as she once was, and this is one of the episodes in which the writers really tried to humanize her. There are 3 plotlines in this episode, and they are pretty well interconnected. The first and main plotline is, as the title suggests, about the Dooplers. They are a new race created especially for Lower Decks. It's a race which would be much more appropriate in something like Futurama, but since Lower Decks is a comedy, I'm willing to accept their existence. The Cerritos is transporting their ambassador, and they try to do anything they can to keep him from being embarrassed. The thing is that when somebody from their race feels embarrassed, they duplicate. So of course they get to the space station where they should drop him off, and the captain manages to insult him. So of course, a few scenes later he duplicates all over the ship. I don't want to go into way too many details, I want you to experience this episode by yourself, but the solution is to this duplication problem is to offend him. When duplicates get offended, they join back to one, so in the end we end up with just one guy again. The second plotline is about Tandy and Rutherford, who still suffers from amnesia, partial amnesia, from the final episode of the previous season, where he sacrificed himself. He can't do the things he could do before. He can't even finish a model of the Cerritos. The plotline is the most pointless of all of them. The reason why it's in the story is just for Rutherford to find out that he's exactly as good as his previous self, which makes sense, and it's ultimately pointless to the overall story. The third plotline is probably the most important of all of them. It's about Mariner and Boimler, and we finally get to see a more human side of Mariner. Good, we absolutely need it. She and Boimler try to sneak in to a very special party. They try to sneak out of the ship while the bridge crew is trying to get rid of the Dooplers, and try to get to this very exclusive party at the station. Boimler has the right to go there because his transporter double is still serving on the Titan, and Mariner could be his +1. Sounds like a plan, but with one problem. The bouncer is one of the green bug creatures from the original animated series, and he doesn't let Mariner in, because she serves on the Cerritos only. So even though they have a really hard time getting in and get into a lot of crazy action, they have to split. Boimler goes to the party and Mariner gets drunk, privately, alone, until Boimler leaves the party and decides to spend the time with her, because they are written to be friends. even though nothing they went through together during the previous season showed them to be friends. And in the end, the bridge crew also doesn't get to the party because the bouncer doesn't let them in. So they all get drunk together in Kirk's old bar. I enjoyed most of the episode. It's hard for me to rate it as a Star Trek episode or as a sci-fi story, because this is a comedy. If they tried to play this straight, I would complain about the nonsensical Dooplers. I mean, how can he duplicate into two identical beings? Shouldn't he duplicate into two beings who will each have half of the body mass of the original creature? Also, I hate cameos. Why the hell is there the outrageous Okora, which is, by the way, a character that appeared only once in an episode called The Outrageous Okora, working as a DJ on the party? A lot of silly things like this would bother me if the show would pretend it's a serious Star Trek show, but I can accept stuff like this in a cartoon comedy, even though they are pretending that the show is canon. I'm not going into too many plot details because, as I said, I would ruin the jokes to all of you who haven't seen it yet, and plan to watch it. But the main thing is that this was probably the first time I felt for Mariner, or one of the very first times. I could finally feel some empathy towards her, and big spoilers, in the end of season 2, I will genuinely like her, which is something I never thought I would say when I've seen the first few episodes of the previous season. Anyway, I will give this episode 2 separate ratings. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average. As a comedy, I would rate this 9 out of 10, and as a Star Trek episode, I would rate this as 6 out of 10. But clearly, something strange has happened between the seasons, because season 2 is basically a completely different show if you compare it to season 1. And that's a good thing. But of course, these were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll be back soon with more of these kind of videos. I know I am far too behind on the new shows, which is one of the reasons why these videos are getting a bit shorter, but thank you very much for watching, and see you very soon. Bye.